All right, y'all. I know it's been a minute. I've been kind of out of touch, but I've been handling some stuff, doing a lot of running around, a new work opportunity, um, and so vids have not really been the top of my priorities. However, I've been keeping an eye, and I've noticed that some thousand of y'all have taken interest in my headache rack build. So that has uh, spurred me to upload some more content, particularly in that, I guess, genre, because that seems to be where the interest lies. So, I'm going to introduce you to my most recent toy acquisition.
Oh yeah. That right there is a 2010 Skidoo Summit XRS, 154-inch Rev XP chassis. I've had this baby for about a month, so I've been doing some things. We had one decent snow three-ish weeks ago, and so we got some time to rip. This is my first ever sled, and I'm very happy with her. So, this sled came from Montana. I don't really know I don't know if that has any validity anymore, since it's no longer a Montana resident sled, but I got my Idaho registration. And I have some plans. So, things I've already done. Primarily, I have created this apparatus on the rear end. It's just made out of some, like, framing metal. I don't really know what you call that stuff. I've found it in walls before. Like in the corners of walls and the drywall, they put that stuff in. Or other like forms of bracing inside of houses. So that stuff is super cheap. Just cut some pieces of that. This is threaded rod running through aluminum pipe. And then it's nice and modular, and you can do whatever you want. Then to the side of that, I mounted this kind of cool gun case, gun boot. And then it holds 2.5 gallon fuel can right there, real nice and tidy. And then I 3D printed this somewhat questionable ski rack. Obviously, the more ideal situation would be two pieces that look like this, but I wanted to keep the skis as far inboard on the sled as possible, meaning that they can only come forward to about like right here. So that meant that no matter what I did, as far as I moved this back, the skis were still going to overbalance and tip backwards. So then I just essentially put a hook on the front. And I just lay the skis in there. They stay by themselves. And then I just take this bungee cord, this long, like 4-foot bungee cord, and I just wrap it around and do some stuff. And it works pretty good. Good enough, certainly. So yeah, that's what I had one thing. I also jacked up the front end as far as I could get it to go. Originally, let's see if we can get a view on this. Originally, the stance in the front was pretty much dead flat. Like it had no. It was sort of sagged low to the ground. And I didn't like that for a couple of reasons. First of all, I don't like what it looks like. I like the sled to stand up a little bit. Second of all, riding sleds in powder, for any people who do this, know that you can't turn them in powder without banking the sled, essentially. So I have a wider than normal, like my sled is wider than normal in front. The skis are farther apart. So it means that in order to rock the sled over the side, it takes a lot more effort, a lot more weight. And I'm not a huge dude, I'm very light. So it's very hard for me to do that. Particularly if all of the center of gravity, all the weight in the sled is down low. So I jacked it up as far as I could get it. So that hopefully, and it has worked, I've been able to bank a little more successfully. Getting the center of gravity up higher makes it easier to tilt. I'm also going to jack up the back. I just haven't done that yet, and I'm not quite sure what that does. So
underneath here is another adjustable shock in there. So that one I can similarly torque to a desired height. This sled, as I said before, is a hill climb edition, and I'm not entirely sure what that entails. It does climb hills very well, but one thing that's cool that comes with it are KYB coilovers, and they have an adjustable knob right there, so I can soften those out. So currently I have this thing maxed out. I got the adjustment cranked up as high as it'll go, and I've got the tension knobs as tight as they will go. So that front end does not like to move around very much. So you can see when I put weight down on it, it does sort of flatten out. I don't know how much the camera's gonna pick that up, but as soon as I go to pick up, it stands right back up again. And when I don't weigh much at all, so when I'm on it, it doesn't even really squat. And it does make a huge difference in being able to get the sled over on its side. I almost forgot. One of the more important things I did was I actually rolled this thing. I was trying to side hill and essentially failed. And I snapped my 7-year-old brittle aluminum handlebars in the cold. It was cold. They just broke right off, right here. So I invested in a pipe bender, and I made my own. Now these are not made out of aluminum, and therefore they're made out of black plumbing pipe, which isn't the greatest item for that, but it was cheap and it was very accessible and it was the right size, like exactly the right size. It's also really easy to bend, and so my hope is that should I roll this thing again, so I rolled in the yard, and I was lucky in that because I broke my handlebar and it was really hard to ride this thing. Particularly, it would have been a lot harder in actual rough terrain. So my hope with these softer steel bars, yeah, they add a little weight. No, I don't care that much about it at all. But if I roll over, and let's say I roll over to my left side, and we end up with a lot of pressure right here. This bar is going to bend right where the riser hooks into it, but it's going to bend down and it's not going to break, meaning that I can still ride the sled with at least a reasonable amount of control. Whereas if I didn't have that handlebar at all, it would be really hard to do. So I think that is a worthy trade-off. All right, so the reason I'm making this video, well, there's two reasons. One, to introduce the machine, because it's going to have a lot of places in my content from now on. The second is because I want to see if I can have y'all, I know there's only 18 of you subscribers at the moment, but 1,000 of y'all watched my last vid, so in the comment section, we'll see if this works. Got my fingers crossed. In the comment section, I need you to answer this. I would like to stealth this sled. Essentially, it's real bright yellowy and kind of questionable. I don't really like that. I want this thing to be stealth with an accent color. So essentially the whole sled black. We got some matte, we got some gloss. I'm gonna scrape all these decals off, paint the tunnel, the running boards. I don't know if I'm gonna touch the bottom of the track guides. But what I want to do, let's pretend I did a red, some kind of red. I would paint like the knuckles and the tie rods, front bumper, back bumper, maybe the edge of the running board, maybe the rack, maybe not the rack, I don't know. Paint that an accent color red, and then the rest of the sled would be black. Then I also want to do this cool thing. They make these like decals, essentially a blackout kit, goes on the front, and I'm hoping they make like so. They essentially what it does is it makes your sled look like it has eyes. Whoa, ahead of myself. It looks like the sled has eyes, and just essentially tapes over the existing light with this sort of eye pattern. So I think that'd be really neat to do, especially if it corresponded in some way with whatever the accent color was. But so what I want help from the greater public with is I don't know what color to do. My brother wants to do a baby blue on his. So he's kind of vetoed me from any of the bluer colors. But I'm not gonna rule it out right now. So I want to see. Comment if you see fit. What accent color should I go with? Now I have a limited availability situation. I would prefer to be able to do this in Rust-Oleum because I'm cheap and it's a really durable surface, I think. And I've used it in a lot of stuff with a lot of really good results. So I would like to use Rust-Oleum. Now Rust-Oleum does not have a lot of extravagant colors. So if y'all maybe, first off, just suggest an idea. We'll see if we can find a paint. So if there's like an overwhelming, desire for there to be a color that Rust-Oleum does not have, then I'd be very much interested in trying to find one. Other than that, they have a lot of good colors and they're a really good, I think they're a really good surface. So I'd like to use Rust-Oleum if at all possible, though that is not the limiting, that will not be the limiting factor. So yeah, comment away, and we'll see whether or not enough of y'all see this to actually make it worthwhile. Otherwise, I'm probably just going to go with red, to be honest with you, because I can't at the moment. I think it would go well with the shocks. So that's about where I'm at on it. But yeah, so this video was to introduce the sled and just get that ball rolling. Say, hey, what are your thoughts? You're going to be seeing a lot of this little lady here in the future. Hoping for some sweet boondocking edits, going up, doing some sled skiing, and really just getting it. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you about.